Hey guys, I'm gonna try out doing just an audio review for this one because I really have a lot to say and I don't want to waste my memory on it. Um, so bear with me. I'm just trying out a new format right here and just seeing how it works for me. But let's get to the movie. I just saw Kingsman in the Golden Circle, and it kind of comes off as more of a bronze movie, if anything. I mean, I'm conflicted because I love the first film and I think it's honestly kind of underrated in some aspects. It was one of the first R-rated movies I saw by myself once I turned 17. And I think I was at the perfect age for it. It's a pretty solid satire of the spy genre with several references to James Bond, while it's still kind of its own spy movie. And I kind of see it as kick-ass with spies because they have the same director, and even the comics themselves were made by the same guy, Mark Miller. Um, and I think the heroes are great. Sam Jackson is pretty good as the villain, as a business mogul with a blood phobia, and the action is worth seeing alone. I think the bar and the church scenes are very memorable. They have really quick editing and fast camera work. They're pretty solid. Overall, the movie is solid, and I was pretty surprised when I first saw it. And now we have the Golden Circle, which kind of screwed everything up, honestly. I am going to get into spoilers with this one. Only see this film if you're genuinely really curious about where the story is going to go. But even then, I'd probably just rent it or watch it on Netflix or Hulu, whatever it goes to. Or just see it on Kodi and don't spend any money on it, whatever you guys do. The characters really don't come out of this movie a ton different. It doesn't feel like they have arcs because the runtime is just padding the entire time. Eggsy has an arc, quotation air quotes, but it's just because he's getting into some forced drama. Like, again, I'm getting into spoilers, but he ends up losing people, and he seems to be the only one that cares that he lost people other than Merlin, because Merlin's just kind of he tells Eggsy he needs to get his crap together and just get over it, and clearly Eggsy doesn't. He's sort of on a revenge mission the entire movie, which isn't much of an arc if you ask me. But he also has an arc with his girlfriend, the princess from the end of the first movie. Yeah, remember her? They really set up her character with the whole doing it in the butt thing. And yeah, you really don't care for the relationship the entire movie. Like, that's his arc, that he does something, which is, he has sex with another girl in order to get a tracker into her. Really stupid scene. And yeah, that kind of sets up them to get into it, and she stops talking to him even though he's a spy. Like, if he's doing his job, I mean, you kind of got to understand that you picked this guy to be with. That's on you. But that's really all he has going for him. None of the spy stuff. It's not an underdog story like how it was in the first film, where it was actually good. We also have Merlin, who's probably the closest thing to being good in this film. He gets a lot of the good moments, some good laughs, and he ends up dying. Yeah, again, I'm getting into spoilers with this, but really just don't go see this movie if you like the first one, because you're gonna be disappointed. But yeah, he ends up dying, and I'll kind of get into that once I get more into the plot. But they also have Harry in this film. I mean, that was in the trailers, not much of a spoiler either. And the Statesman apparently had him after he got shot by Sam Jackson in the first one. And it's kind of convoluted how they resurrect him, because they put this thing over his eyes. Apparently, Statesman had this technology where it'll, like, I guess, not reanimate you, but these certain cells get into... It's so stupid. It's Kingsman. Honestly, do I have to explain it? He comes back to life because they heal his bullet wound that went right through his eye. And it's like this sort of wrap they put over his face, and they put these 2 needles into it, and it just swells up, heals it. That's the end of it. But it gives him amnesia because he lost too much brain matter. And yeah, he's not himself like for half of the movie. Even when he is himself and he tries to do the action scenes, he ends up falling on his ass. So it's because he sees butterflies. I really don't understand where this movie was going. I don't even remember him being into butterflies like back in the first movie. I must have missed it, but I watched the first movie right before I saw the second, like the day before. So I really don't know where I missed that, but yeah, whatever. So those are our real main characters, and yeah, that's only because everyone else from the first movie literally dies. Yeah, like the female agent, she's dead. One of Eggsy's friends dies because he's dog sitting the dog. Yeah, the dog dies in this one. And they think that's okay because, like, we didn't really care about the dog to begin with. I mean, Eggsy was given a moment where he almost shot the dog and chose not to shoot it, so, you know, that dog had it coming. I don't really know why they thought this would be okay. Like, oh yeah, Julianne Moore, she killed the dog, we're supposed to hate her. Like, we didn't need that. You could have just set it up that she's trying to kill people and trying to destroy the world, just like everything else. She basically has the same plot as what Sam Jackson had in the first movie, and that's just to rid the world of evil, like what she perceives to be evil, even though she's in the drug business. I mean, it's really stupid for her to be like, oh, I put this toxin inside all of the drugs in the world that I shipped out, and if you don't legalize all the drugs, I'm gonna, like, you know, I won't give out the antidote and all these people are gonna die. Well, she's really stupid for doing that, because if I found out that like all my stuff had been messed with and put in and tampered with this toxic stuff, would I want to do drugs anymore? Like, you kind of just betray your clientele when you do that. Did anyone think this through? Did anyone sit here and write this and be like, you know what? Maybe if she's trying to kill all the people she's trying to sell drugs to, they may not want to do drugs after that. Literally, like, you know, one of Eggsy's friends does meth and he ends up getting that stuff in him. And then after that, he's like, man, I told you to stay away from that stuff. Or, you know, his friend said that even before then. Like, you know, before they got the antidote, because his friend was paralyzed. It's stuff like this that, like, they didn't think through and they didn't need for this movie. But, yeah, I don't understand the villain. I don't understand why people had to die that we actually liked. And yeah, like I said, Merlin dies. I'll go ahead and get into that. Merlin ends up dying because Eggsy has a minesweeper, which I think is a cool gadget because it's like a baseball bat. It's one of the Statesman's, devices, and he's minesweeping around Julianne Moore's camp as they're trying to get into it because they don't want to step on a mine, but Eggsy ends up stepping on a mine anyways. And Merlin has this... First off, Merlin is just now getting out in the field. He's always been like the intel, like the guy at the computer, as Spider-Man Homecoming would put it. And this is the first time we get to see him as an audience be out in the field. We didn't see that in the first movie at all. And it's kind of cool that, he gets to wear the suit and be with everyone else. And he doesn't get to do anything with it. Because what he ends up doing is he sprays around the mine this, like, freezing crap. I mean, it's just a gadget. But he sprays it around the mine and it freezes it. And, it ends up, like, he has, like, a split second to where Eggsy can take his foot off and then Merlin can put his foot on. And then Merlin's like, go ahead, I'm gonna go ahead and, die. And it's like, you guys are the Kingsman. You didn't pack one more can of that crap? And you couldn't, like, I don't know. It's the Kingsman. There's a way for you guys to disarm a freaking landmine. I really don't think it's that hard, but whatever. He ends up dying, singing Country Road, which is overused in this movie. And speaking of overused, Elton John is in this entirely too much. I'm sorry, he does have some funny moments, like the part where the dog is looking at Harry, and he's about to, like, kill him, like one of the stupid robot Transformer dogs that look terrible. God, no, hold on. I have to stop talking about Elton John so I can talk about these crappy looking dogs. They are literally the worst thing I think I've ever seen in my life. They should have been in like Transformers circa 2007, 10 years ago, and they're in this movie, and even then they still look too crappy to be in that movie. I'm just saying, like, seriously, you guys, I know it's just a Kingsman sequel, but you could have did way better than that. Anyway, so it's about to kill Harry, and Elton John ends up sticking his face in it, and he's just grinning. It's because he sticks his face in front of Harry's because the dog recognizes him as a friend. Like, it's been trained to recognize him to do that, so it kind of saves Harry in the end. That's the only time Elton John is really useful to the plot. And I have no disrespect towards him. I think he's a pretty good, talented man, but he was way too overused in this film. I guess we had to kill off characters just to make more time for him. But anyway, yeah, I haven't even talked about the Statesman yet, because really there's no point in having them in this movie. We get Channing Tatum as like sort of the Eggsy of this world, you know, the Statesman, and he ends up taking a nap for the entire movie because he has that drug crap in his system. So they put him in a cryogenic freezing chamber or whatever to, you know, slow down his bloodstream and keep him a little bit more alive for the rest of the movie. So he got to use his accent from Logan Lucky, thank God, and then he got to take a nap, and he still got paid for that. So that's good. Obviously, you know, they wanted the big names to put in the trailer, and didn't really want to follow up on them. Like, if you're gonna promise us that there's a Statesman for this film, make it one that's actually interesting, instead of, you know, the one that we got, the one guy, I guess he's from Narcos or something like that, but he's our main Statesman, not Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum, again, takes a fucking nap the entire movie. We also have Jeff Bridges in it. He's in one room, never leaves the room, and we never get to see him do anything. He's kind of like the Michael Caine of this movie, I guess. Like, he's just sort of the head man. He just sits around drinking in the same room, and that's his character. That's it. We don't know anything else about him. Halle Berry is sort of the Merlin in the group too. And do you understand what I'm doing right here? Like, I'm pointing out what they represent as a parallel to the Kingsman. Like, oh, this is the Merlin. Oh, this is the Michael Caine. You know, the Arthur, the group. I'm not pointing out anything else about them because they're not characters. They're actors that were paid to be in this movie. Again, so we could just, you know, put them in the trailer, get butts and seats because, oh, I know that name and they're cool. And yeah, she barely does anything in this. She wants to be the new Agent Tequila. And I think that is kind of funny. Like, you know, all the agents are named after alcohol because that's what the you know, like that's their code name because, you know, that's what Americans do. All we do is wear cowboy hats and drink. So yeah, she really wants to. That's her arc. You know, she wants to be on the field. And, you know, she even asked Merlin that. She's like, oh, don't you ever want to be on the field? And he's like, oh, my work's here. But then he ends up being on the field and then dies. So, like, when she kind of see that and be like, you know what, I don't want to do it. But then she ends up doing it. By the end of the film, she takes Agent Tequila's place, which is, you know, the statesman we get to be with the majority of the time. And of course, he ends up being a villain because he knocks the antidote out of Eggsy's hand, but Eggsy was like barely holding on to it anyways, so wow, that's fantastic. But yeah, they do that cliche where like, oh, this guy, one of the characters like, oh, I don't trust this guy, or this guy's a villain, and then yeah, he ends up being a villain. But of course our main character doesn't believe that he's a villain because, oh, you're just crazy, you're seeing butterflies and stuff. Like, they go for that in this movie. There's actually quite a few cliches in the dialogue and in the plot itself. Very lazy. I understand, like, you know, the first one was an underdog story, and that within itself is sort of a cliche, but this, they don't hide it as well. Like with the other one, at least it was like, we felt for him because it probably would have been us in that situation. But they don't even go for that here. It's just sort of, I wouldn't say boring. I wasn't really as bored as probably a lot of other people would be. Like if you've never seen the first one, don't ever bother seeing this film. But even if you have seen the first one, I really wouldn't recommend it that much because you'll be disappointed. But I really don't know what else to say. Honestly, I don't want to get into it any further because it's just a mess. The entire what you understand from it is it's a mess. Like, I don't see how this happened, how they managed to cram so much crap into it, and yet they're missing more, things that would be relevant to our characters. Like, we never even see Eggsy's sister or mother in this. We don't know what ever happened to them. I guess they're just fine. Even at the wedding, we don't see them because Eggsy ends up marrying the princess. Like, oh, they're fine. And the only reason we feel as if the stakes got raised is because Eggsy's princess girlfriend ended up, smoking weed that happened to be one of the drugs that Julianne Moore put stuff in. So that's the reason why we're supposed to care, but we don't, because this character had like 2 minutes in the last movie. But, and whatever. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that other cliche. They do one of those misunderstanding parent dinner scenes because Eggsy's wearing the glasses from the from his Kingsman stuff. He ends up yelling at his friend who's about to blow up his house. He's like, "Oh, put it down," and the king is like, "Oh, I say," like, "Oh," and yeah, they even do the thing at the dinner scene where, like, he has someone in his ear telling him what to say because the king is asking ridiculous, stupid stuff, and we're supposed to laugh because Eggsy knows exactly what to say. This isn't funny. This isn't even humorous. This is just getting by. This is just advancing the plot, making it seem like, oh, he has everything under control, and then, oh, he ends up doing something stupid. Who wrote this? Give me 1 second, because I'm going to figure out who wrote this, to be honest. I'm looking it up right now. Kingsman, Golden Circle. I'm going to Wikipedia, so don't, count me for this, but I really am curious. I think the music was okay. The action scenes were fine. Like, I'm trying to find positive things to say because, I think the acting was fine. I didn't have a problem with anyone in particular, but, So Matthew Vaughn wrote part of the screenplay for this, and someone named Jane Goldman, who, wrote... No, this is the same people that wrote the first movie. Hold on 1 second. Let me just be sure. Yeah, because the first one has literally the same people writing the screenplay. I don't know what went wrong with this. I just... again, the longer I talk about it, the less it makes sense. And I haven't even gotten to the part with the president, letting people die and Congress just letting that happen because he doesn't want to sign the papers. I feel like Congress would have been like, yeah, we're going to sign these papers to save people's lives. They're not going to leave it to such a crappy president. I mean... At first, when I first got out of the theater, this movie sat at like a 6 out of 10. Then I started thinking about it more and it got to like a 5 out of 10. Just, average, but it's at 4.5 right now. And talking about it more makes me want to put it at 4. Like, I'm really disappointed in the fact that this movie came out how it did when it had so much potential. Again, the acting is fine, it's the characters that are the problem. The story is bloated completely. The effects are terrible. The action is good still. I think the action is fine when we're actually focused on it. The cinematography actually is pretty good for this. I didn't mention that. The shots are well set up. You know, when they're not transition shots that are all CG, they're actually pretty good. But yeah, I have to put it at a 4 because I was just disappointed. I won't be buying this. I'll just stick to the first one, which the first one is like a 7 or an 8 out of 10, just to show you how low the bar dropped. I'm not gonna give up if they make a third one, but I'm not gonna pay full price to go see it. It'll probably be like a matinee or something during the day. And that's really all I have to say, honestly, guys. Let me know what y'all thought. Maybe I'm just being too hard on it, but I really was disappointed in this film. If I could have, I feel like if there's something they could have did differently, it would have been, don't let the Kingsmen blow up. Let it be like the statesmen are the ones that are coming to the Kingsmen, and they need their help because, you know, like while the drug thing affects the world essentially, it seems more prevalent like with the United States because she's in South America and that's North America. It'd be easier to traffic drugs there. So I mean, just like just stay focused on the fact, if you're gonna destroy the Kingsmen and have to rebuild it, you need to focus on that before you just ship them off to the statesmen and have a whole bunch of side plots going on there. Like, they don't mention the fact that, you know, Kingsman is essentially destroyed. They have no resources. They may have money somewhere else, but they really have no resources to go from other than the statesmen. Have it be the other way around, where the statesmen have to start from the bottom and, you know, work their way up. And I don't know, you could have just did something way different from this, or even just save the statesmen for a third movie. But I don't even see a third movie happening. I think this movie will make the money it needs to make another one, but they have to be smarter than this. They need to bring someone else in, because if you guys are already out of ideas by this point and you're just throwing crap at the wall and sort of just Amazing Spider-Man 2, just doing that, or Spider-Man 3, whichever one you prefer, just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, it's already a sign that your franchise has lost its main audience. Because this isn't what anyone asked for. I don't know one person that was like, yeah, kill all the main characters off, bring in new characters but barely show anything with them, and yeah, more Elton John, please. Alright guys, it's been a few minutes. I'm done talking about this film. I'm trying to think. I know Flatliners comes out next week. I might go ahead and check that out. I think there's another film I wanted to see coming out next week, but I can't think of it right now. But it won't be long before the next video's up and you guys have something to either see or listen to. I might just do this format from now on because it's a lot easier. But until then, guys, this has been Zero Footage. I'll speak with y'all again soon. Peace out.